Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. We're back reacting to a very boring round of footy, to be honest with you. Very depressing round of footy.
Yes.
And it starts off with Georgie. We're just going to go straight into it, bro.
I'd just like to publicly confess the fact that I was the guy that vandalised Icon Park.
There we go.
You got me. You got me. Is that the police at the door? No, look, I didn't do it, but there's a fun idea.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? How quickly they got rid of it.
Yeah, well, the thing... No, you know
It's
what?
like they've got a button for it.
Yeah, the thing I thought was the best about it was keep Voss.
Yeah.
Keep Voss was on that. You know what I mean? It was sack the board, keep Voss.
Yeah.
So these are informed Carlton fans. These aren't just some random Joe Blows. They've thought about it.
I found the commentary about Tom DeConning yes or no hilarious. Like everyone's saying like if Tom just goes and does the spray can on yes, like that's that's legally binding.
Oh, there we go. But what's what? Yes to leaving or yes to staying?
True.
You know what I mean? Like, so either way, it's still very ambiguous. Anyway, look, you guys are finished, brother.
Oh, mate. Look, I don't even know where to start, dude. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen as a Carlton fan, dude. I always go back to the baseline worst performance from Carlton was years ago against GWS, where they had 17 players on the field and they were still like up by 60 points and like kicking goals. Like they were actually kicking goals with one less player on the field. I don't even know how that's possible. Like they had the whole bench injured and they were still running rings around us. So we've seen some lows with Carlton and it looks like we're back at it. So watching that game, like, to be honest, there's a big part of me that expected us to win that game. And you go, like, how can you say you're going to win that game? Well, because that's just sometimes what happens is you respond, right? And you have a bad loss against North, and what is the best possible thing to do? The best possible thing is to have a Thursday night game where you get to respond and not think about it too much, right? You don't want a Saturday game, bad performance, and then a Sunday night. Like Thursday night, straight away, chance to rewrite the last week and get back on the winners list. And to dish up that is insane because all they would have been talking about is pressure and contest and responding and going hard at the ball. And then they're down by 30 points in the first quarter. Like, how's that a thing? How's that possible? Against Port, they suck. Port absolutely suck. This is not going to be about Port, this section at all. They just happen to be the other team. But the feeling of familiarity of that performance is something that maybe only Carlton fans can really understand. Over the last 10 years, this rise and fall and the sacking of coaches, it just feels like I've seen this playbook before. And that David Teague era, when he was at his last legs, there was the talk of will he stay, will he won't stay, what's the board going to do? And week in, week out, for the last 8 weeks or something, 10 weeks, it was just like, oh yeah, press conference, I don't know if I'm going to stay, I guess up to the board. Like it was that much of a waste of time where Teague just had no idea where he was going to stay at and it looked obvious he was going to go. This time around, I think it's the same boat. I'm suspicious Voss might actually see out his contract, but there's going to be major change at Carlton.
When's the contract expire?
At end of next year.
Yeah, there would have to be significant changes in pretty much every other department at the end of the year.
Yeah, like... Mate, they all know that there's going to be some serious change. Like, we've got Collingwood this week, and then I think it's Brisbane, and I think the Hawks are in the mix. And we've just had two of the worst performances we've seen from Carlton for a long time. There's 8 weeks left, bro. 8! That's 2 months of football. And we've hit our absolute rock bottom already. So it looks like Carlton has come into the bye, having a poor year, going, you know what? Let's use the bye to reset. And let's come back out. And we've done it before. We've gone on a run. We're going to do it again. They just beat Essendon. They just beat West Coast in a pretty bad effort. And then you guys smash us, make us look silly. And then the Port one, I reckon that North performance was like, oh, shit, we ain't got it. And there was no belief. There was no fight against Port. And it looked silly because you kind of know when people have checked out or when they've just got no confidence, when every kick goes out on the full.
Even the one that Curnow just sprays
everywhere.
Yeah.
Sprays. McGovern sprays. Playing on in the goal square. Remember the Fantasia handball over the thing? Like, it's just like a circus to watch. But it's not like funny. It's just wow. And so I'm sitting there, Thursday night, big week so far, sitting there going, all right, let's see. I expect a bit of a resurgence, a bit of a fight back. And like 20 minutes, 15 minutes in the first quarter, I'm like, oh my gosh. Sitting there at halftime going, how have we got to this point? This is a 10-year rebuild to get to this point. This is the realization of of all realizations that it's completely failed. And we knew that it was leading to that point, but this is just the absolute rock bottom. So it's a disaster, man. And they said some stat like this is the oldest team Carlton has fielded in like generations. It's not a new team, bro. Not a new team, man.
That's surprising. Actually.
Yeah, because there's debutants, there's all these young guys. It is weird that that's the case.
Well,
the math goes that way. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at Carlton and think it's a ridiculously old team, but it's not a team that's rebuilding.
No, this team needed to be ready now.
It needed to be ready years ago.
Yeah.
So they failed, and I just can't reiterate enough the feeling of just up and down and how much it just seems to all collapse in one big foul swoop with Carlton over the last 3 coaches. It's just fascinating how it comes. And, obviously the Carlton faithful are, invested, and that's why you've got, the vandalism and them going on the radio and going crazy. But, like, what do you expect fans to do? Like, this is a shit show of the highest order. So it's quite fascinating. What else do I have here? I think I've covered most of them.
Yeah. No, look, a lot of that very well said, and that's it's. I guess it's similar for us in regards to the North as well. We're both in the same boat, which makes this a hard podcast to talk about. But look, if we're going to talk about some cool stuff in that game, it's really the Port midfield. They had their way. Bergman is the guy right now. He's the guy, and he's re-signed for 2 years too.
Yep.
Like, to be honest with you, I don't think it means anything to re-sign for 2 years. Similar to the Real situation, it just means he has huge leverage come free agency, and he can do whatever he wants. Is really what's happening. But I think at least if you're a Port supporter, it's like, cool, we get this guy for another 2 years, man. We get to watch this dude.
Yeah.
Rosie was insane as well, man. He had an excellent game.
Georgiades as well.
Georgiades, bro.
Yeah.
When he sent Jack Silvani inside out and then came around and kicked that goal, my God.
Lovely.
Goodness me, man. What a player. Like that. How many forwards can we fit in the All-Australian this year? How many key forwards can we have?
Key forwards well and truly. We said it a few weeks ago. There, man, back and really excited. Like, you look at Cadman, Georgiades. These are guys like draft picks, younger guys coming into their own. Morris. So
Yeah.
Matt's boy.
Matt's my boy Morris, man.
So no, good on. Yeah, look, to your point, I don't know. They're gonna have to squeeze at least 4 in somehow. At least.
Yeah. Look, the minimum of 3. Maybe even you have 3 on the field, 1 on the bench. Is that crazy? I don't know. Obviously, that's not how real footy teams get laid out and set up. But there's a lot of fun ones right now. I will say that. Yeah. Anything else to say on your boys, or is this?
I can talk about it for hours, man.
Nah, fair enough.
I just I'm just dreading. Not dreading because I've checked out, and I've checked out all year of Carlton because that's what they've done to us. But the fact that we've got 8 more weeks, I just don't know how bad this could get. So much worse. That's the crazy part. So I hope it's not like that, because it's going to be pretty painful. Yeah. And I just wish the club would just come out and just be honest for once. Like, I can't watch a presser like that and have Voss say, "Oh, look, we've got a lot right this year." Like, Voss, can you shut up, bro? Just say you were fucking awful. Just say it. Just say that, man. Like, that's what we want to hear. You know.
And then you got like Crippo all the time, like, and he has to, as the captain, be like, we got to stick fat at this time of year.
The problem is Carlton has been doing that the whole time. They've been bad for years. No one wants that.
I think the question is not like, of course, your fans, despite the emotion, are going to want to support the team and whatever. But what the question has to be asked, like, why do you keep getting rock bottom?
That's right.
And then, like, if you can just prevent that from happening, you wouldn't need to stick fat so much. It would just be a normal club.
A normal club, like, there's plenty of bad clubs. Essendon, St Kilda have been shit for ages, right? They don't get the same attention because they haven't hit the spoons. We've hit like 5 spoons, man. Yep. That's the problem. They hit the spoons and they have one rise in the prelim that makes you think that they're there. And it was just a flash in the pan. That was just they got it right for half a year. That's all it was. But
a couple of little things I want to say extra. Talking about Port Adelaide, even though I don't really like talking about the good stuff about Port Adelaide, but there is a couple of good things. First of all, Liddy, who they brought in, Manny Liddy in the preseason draft. Someone I don't know if we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, but this was his 3rd game, and every game I've seen of him, it's just been consistent effort and high energy. That's kind of what you guys need. That type of player in the mid-season draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Comes in, energy. I'd much rather have him. I'm not going to say, look, the guy who did make his debut, Flynn Young.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I think he was the sub, right?
Yep.
I'm not going to get too into him. That he sucks. But like, imagine if you had Liddy in instead, where it's like, you have this energy all of a sudden. You have, a guy who wants and he's always constantly putting pressure and effort. And another embarrassing thing for Carlton, right? Remember last week how North Melbourne, we took out our Rolls Royce? Port Adelaide did it as well. Horn Francis got subbed out tactically.
Yeah.
That says it all, man.
Oh,
Says it all.
they're nowhere near it. Like Carlton's only way, their main dominant way of scoring has been stoppages over the last couple of years, but they don't even score from stoppages anymore.
Yeah, no,
so
that got smashed. Yeah.
Like if you come out at North Melbourne and say, all right, guys, you just got to get him in the contest and you've won, then that's the only focus of the other team is to get him in the contest. Port are the same in the way that Carlton, if their midfield gets smashed, they got no options. They just happen to bring it, and Zach Butters is such a freak of a footballer, and so is Rosie. But yeah, I mean, we did see some debutants in Flynn Young, who I think he's got a classy foot, so I think he's potentially a good option. Billy Wilson he was like a pick in the 30s or 40s, a bit of a runner, got a game. I mean, that's a terrible game to debut in. So the last thing I'll say, actually, is I said last week, I bet you they won't make a statement with selection because they're too scared, right? They bring in some debutants, but they get rid of Binns and Carroll as the people that will sacrifice them, will bring in some new kids. What I really wanted is a statement. And they didn't make any statement selection. And I guarantee you they won't do it again this week, but they need to.
Well, the trouble is as well, when you're going through a moment like this and then you throw in the debutants into a bad situation, you're not setting them up. Like, obviously with North, we've been so bad for years, you're naturally debuting a lot of players. But look at a Geelong, right? They wouldn't debut, not that they ever hit rock bottom, but like they debut people when they're on top of the world, and they always look good.
Yeah, they never throw anyone to the wolves.
Correct.
But I just wonder, to Matt's point, whether some of these debutants bring the energy that kind of reignites.
You have to try,
team.
don't get me wrong, but more often than not, you'll find that they're a victim of their environment, right?
Yeah.
So you get some classy players not make it or lose their confidence because they're coming into teams getting belted. It's so hard to get that right. That's why rebuilds tend to take so long. Whereas the good teams, obviously like a Brisbane, Levi Ashcroft, he's obviously a gun, but he's walking into the easiest team in the league to adjust to, with the easiest role.
It's an interesting point because, like, what is Carlton's narrative now? Is Carlton's narrative, see at the end of the season, try get in? Like, they can't be talking finals because we know, like, can't insult us by talking finals. But would Carlton fans, I think as a Carlton fan, I know that the season's done. So I'd prefer to see some younger players come in and take some, like the Akers spot who can't kick, the Dockley spot. I'd rather those be kids, right? Just because I know the season's done. I'm not going to...
You don't have your first round pick though. That's what's complicating things. So the only thing you have to benefit from that is some games into the youngsters.
But you do have Tom the Con in compensation.
And he's going, right?
Yeah. Like, so if instead of getting pick 3, you get pick 4. That ain't
So
too
you'd
bad.
get it from where it was.
You get it from
Even
where
though you
the
traded
next
it.
spot.
Okay,
Yeah.
then,
So if Carlton
yeah.
finishes 4th last, they get pick 5.
Because there's no way he's not triggering band 1 compensation
Of course,
with the amount of
yeah.
money he's getting offered. Plus, mate, if you're going to get paid 1.7 million, there should be like band 0.5 or something where you can get like 2. Yeah, one at the start, one at the
I
end.
like the way you're
You know,
talking.
Hey, I
like
got
the way
you,
you're
man. I
talking.
got you, bro. But you know what I mean? Like, that's, yeah.
No,
It'll be interesting to
that's
see
fair.
kind of how they approach the last 8 games. I'm suspicious they're just going to go double down and just try to get some wins and put some, make it not as embarrassing. But I think as a Carlton fan, I just prefer they just play some young kids and see what they got. Because it's done. Let's be honest, it's done.
Yeah, 100%. Move on to a fun game. Now, I only was able to watch the end of this game because I was working. And the commentator was saying, "Oh, mate, what an excellent game this was." And I'm thinking, look, I just saw Sydney butcher the ball for the last 10 minutes of the game. I go back, I watch the mini. How many running goals?
Mate.
How many snaps?
Mate.
So many great goals and such a fun game, man.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most unique games of the season.
Yeah.
Half the time I was watching, I'm like, how are these guys not out of breath? Like, there's just no one took a mark and just said, "Oh, take it easy."
Yeah.
It was just slingshot. And just, if you contrast Carlton's performance the night before to this, the difference in class in these teams is insane, especially with some of the individual performances like Heaney, 5 goals straight. Joe Frazier, 4 goals.
Joel Freya.
Freya, or the way I say Freya.
Joe Frazier.
Those 2 performances in particular,
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time 2 midfielders on opposing teams have had plus 20 touches and
Yeah.
multiple goals, like 4-5. Is crazy.
And the shock that it wasn't Bont.
Yeah.
It was Fraser.
It was Minibot.
Shout out
They
Minibot.
call him Minibot, yeah.
Mate, he just call him Fraser, bro. He's the guy. He's the guy.
There were actually so many standout performances. Like even like some random like Lockie Bramble had a Superman quarter. We pulled like 15 possessions in the quarter. I mean, Darcy dominates first 2 goals, and he kicks his goal on the run where he picks it up. They said, how?
Unbelievable.
How,
Like,
bro?
Yeah, nah. It's seriously, there are things in the game that he does. It's literally like when it comes to big guys, it's him and Thilthorpe. And that's it. They're the only dudes who can do certain things. And there are other things that it's just Darcy. It's insane.
I don't think Phil Thorpe could pull off that goal, man.
I think he kicked something earlier in the year that was similar from memory.
It's
And
insane.
this is all like
Or
with
maybe
the
he
quality
missed
of the
it, but
game.
whatever.
This is all with the turf, which
Yeah.
what do we know about grass? But like very, very bad
Yeah.
grass to play on.
Yeah, so they've a lot of talk about the conditions being bad, but it didn't affect kind of the way the game was played. I felt
somehow, thank goodness, yeah.
what I will say is Sydney are a completely different team with Goulden back. I mean, when Goulden kicks the ball, because we forget because we haven't seen him all season, the ball just spins differently. He's a menace, right? So him, Papley comes back in, Mills, I think Cunningham is back recently, just a senior player. They're the type of team that you go, oh, as we said last week, they could find a way to compete for the 8. Because watching them that's a top 8 team. Now they didn't take their chances and they missed so many set shots, which just killed their ability to win that game. But you go, wow, this team really is something special when they're playing like that. And that's what makes the Dogs win even more special, because Sydney was up against it the whole time. And they're at home. And the Dogs class still found a way to always kind of be ahead and put that game to bed. That is a massive win from the Dogs. Massive wins.
Yeah, we'd been calling out for a big Dogs win because they, obviously last week they smashed Richmond, but I feel like that's been kind of the narrative the whole season is smash bad teams and then they get close to good teams and then they lose. This is
like this is the type of win. I left that game thinking these guys could win the flag. It was just so mature. I felt, and so many players stand up. Like Norden had a really big game. You've got the stars in the young players and in Darcy. Ed Richards got tagged out. Didn't have much of an influence.
Mate, Bont didn't have much of an influence.
Didn't have much of an influence.
Did Dale do that well?
No, Dale had a big game.
Yeah.
But it just
I did too, actually. Yeah.
Tim English. Oh, look, the other thing we'll talk about is Grundy in a second.
Thank you, bro. I've been saying it for weeks. Like Grundy is back to career best Grundy. I was a bit apprehensive in saying, oh, it's career best. It is career best. His last 5 average in Supercoach is like 160.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the last, like his average 5 or average 3. I got a steal in draft, mate. I'm telling you that.
You know the other thing you say, we talked about how many forwards can you fit? How many rucks can you fit in the All-Australian team?
Well, true.
There's
Sherry,
a couple-
Gorn, Grundy.
Luke Jackson now is absolutely dominating.
I'm not giving it to Luke Jackson, bro, because he doesn't play the full season as the sole ruck. So
Yeah.
you can't give it to him, in my opinion.
You probably can't, but at the moment is absolutely tearing it to shreds. Tom DeConning has fallen off, so I wouldn't put him part of that category, but he started the season strong.
I reckon
There's
they're
a lot
gonna,
of good players.
I reckon they're going to give it to Darcy Cameron this year. With
Well,
how
he's
good,
he's the
You know
other one.
what?
with how good Collingwood's playing.
That's a good call, because if you can't split all these dudes, you just give it to the dude who plays for the best team.
Yeah,
And they've got to give like 4 or 5 All-Australian spots to the best.
correct.
But, mate, the way Grundy's going about it right now, to bring it back to the Sydney.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
he'd be
goodness
well
me,
well
man.
deserved for sure.
Oh, he's been awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, a shame for Sydney because I think that actually is a nail in their coffin. They started too late. I think they need to win that to play finals, and I just think it's too hard now.
Well, look, now they're 24 points. So they're 3 games out of it, bro.
And
they needed
percentage.
and percentage. They needed a perfect run, and it's just
So all that desperation, all that necessity to win at home, and the Dogs are like, you know what, we're going to take this from you. I just thought that was special.
yeah. Nah, good call. Well, look, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 8 rounds. Yeah. It's still a bit of time, but you got to win 8, and let's say they win 8, and then the next club has to lose 3.
You need a team to fall off,
Exactly. You need a huge drop off,
and right now it's
unlikely.
looking a bit too competitive. I can't really see it.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree. But
crazy things have happened.
yeah, no, it's a shame that they couldn't get it done
Bro,
earlier.
Sydney under Carlton on the ladder. That says something.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
That's insane, bro.
that is, yeah. We'll move on to a team who has the spot in the 8 at the minute, and they do have the game in hand, which is huge. Gold Coast, man. I don't know, man. I'm not overly convinced with them. It was a good win, I guess, against Melbourne, but Melbourne's not the best team. So, I don't know. I'm not overly excited, to be honest, about them as a team. Like I think they're lucky, especially that their game in hand is against Essendon. That's an automatic win the way Essendon are going about it right now.
Yeah.
Melksham 5 goals 6. Wow,
That's insane.
Shout out to Chris Michaels, boy.
There's been a lot of games like that this year. Just huge scoring opportunities for one player. Nuts.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out to Look,
Look, the one Melbourne player that's consistent is Pickett. I mean, 25 possessions, 3 goals. He's a menace.
Yeah. True.
Look, the Suns just still, for me, fall in that category. It's almost like the Dogs in a way, where mostly they're beating the bad teams. That mean they lost to Richmond somehow, but you just wonder, like, when push comes to shove. Like I said, I think I mentioned it regarding Hawthorn. Like, you make the 8, Hawthorn finishes 5th, 6th. Your Gold Coast, you play them. Or if it's the other way around.
Oh, you're done.
No one's tipping Gold Coast. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
So,
100%. Well, yeah, look, you look at the previous 3 weeks to this one. They beat Melbourne, but then the previous 3 weeks, it's Giants they lost to, Geelong, and Freo.
yeah. All the better teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, I don't know. Look, shout out to them for getting a W, you know. Matt Rowell looks... I feel like he's back to, like, you know, the beast Rowell, you know. Like, he seems to do it where he has a month on, month off.
Yeah, he does.
He's in the month on right now, and he looks special. I will give him that. So there's that at least to look forward to with them.
I'm happy to move on, man. I don't know if there's much to say about that one.
Yeah, no, look, I don't know.
that's
There's just 2 teams I'm not excited about at all. And talk about teams that I'm not excited about. I'm again not excited about North, and very quickly back to earth. Like, I was feeling very good about our previous 6 weeks. We'll say about 6 weeks of playing good footy. In this case, it just went again. The pressure goes away, and all of a sudden, the defenders aren't able to defend, and it's not their fault. It's the system. I got to say, shout out. This is, you know, information that I've got from First Crack and David King, and I'm sure plenty of people watch it. Right? It's damning the way we set up. We set up defensively, super aggressive on the defensive end. But if the pressure isn't there, all of a sudden there's goals at the back. And we've been watching this for like the last 2-3 years, and it's frustrating, man. Like, I think what needs to happen, in my opinion, if the pressure's not there from the midfielders, all of a sudden, I don't know if the players do it, if the coaches do it, but they say, hey, guys, play man-to-man. Play, you know, behind your attacker, or whatever it is. However the more conservative way to defend, you know, the defensive 50 is. And then all of a sudden, if the pressure comes back, go, all right, boys, push up again.
The best teams have multiple game styles they can go to. We just don't have it.
And that's a shame, man.
It is a big shame. I mean, yeah.
Like, I don't know. It seems, from the outside looking in, as not a person who's ever played footy, a person who's, you know, out of the loop in regards to a lot of tactics, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that hard a thing to do, but I don't know. Obviously, it is, man.
Yeah. Look, a week's a long time in footy. I did call it last week when I said wrapped with North's form, but look at our next couple games. Hawthorn, this week Bulldogs. Then we've got Sydney, I think. A resurgent Sydney.
Carlton's probably potentially given a false sense of security because of how bad they actually are.
Look, it was the culmination of good form and just some close losses and a couple wins, but maybe an uninspiring win against West Coast, a couple close losses. So it kind of was like justice in a sense of like, we've deserved a nice win and we got it. But then there was absolutely, and you guys will know that, again, that part of me that was looking forward, like, okay, realistically though, even if we play well against Hawthorn, play well against the Dogs, these are good teams. You know, these are teams fighting for potential top 4 places. So I was under no illusion. Now, did I expect it to be that bad? Of course not. But for me, there was 2 major things. Like Matt said, we did not win the ball in the contest at all. There was some damning, like you said, damning footage, but also stats, like tackle count way down. Clearance numbers way, like basically everything you can think of inside 50s. Could barely get it even forward, man.
The stuff that we were doing well just was not happening.
Somehow, actually, what I will say, the one positive, I don't have the numbers to back this up, but considering how few times we got inside the 50, we put up a half-decent score relating to that inside 50 number. I'm not saying the score was great. Yeah. It was still a low score, but like if Hawthorn was on defensively, we could have put up 40 points and it would have been justified. So it was kind of disgusting. Now, this isn't obviously both teams playing on the same grass, man. The North boys, I don't know what they got in the boots. They were slipping over, which is the most frustrating thing. Like when you're losing and you're up against it, at least when you have the ball there to pick up, like they were just slipping like they were on skates, man. So that shit pissed me off.
Yeah, and it was like you look at it and like this is unlucky, but like, are we creating our bad luck by not wearing the proper shoes?
Honestly,
what's going
yeah.
on?
Like if one team's slipping and one's not, something's not right there. But anyway, look, Hawks played really well. They had the week off. They were fresh. They were confident.
Yeah.
You said the rest in terms of the defensive sort of structure, but I'm not overreacting to that. I like I said, I was expecting we're going to get a few hidings. We'll probably get one this week against the Dogs as well, Thursday night.
Yeah, it's a shame. It could
It's
potentially
our
be
centenary,
2 weeks.
what's it called, game? So our 100-year anniversary game. Why you make it against the Dogs, I don't know.
We always get embarrassed in
On
these
our
big
big games,
games.
yeah.
It's just
We're going to lose again. We're going to lose pretty big again.
Look, I feel like this is a big loss coming. That's just what they do. They love it.
And then we've got Sydney, who, like we've said, and I agree, are resurgent. So that was a different fixture. Even though they killed us earlier in the year, I don't see why they wouldn't again at the SCG.
yeah.
So the reality is we're going to have to play some really damn good footy to even make these look respectable. And it is what it is. So what I will say as well is I've seen a little bit. Did you see the Almac photo in the my favorite post, the full time, the FT full stop that the social media's put up?
No, I didn't see it.
This is the thing, right? So North puts up this photo of the boys walking off the field in a pack, just with the usual FT full stop. And Almac is smiling. And the North fans,
They picked it up.
man, the comments section was barely even about the game. Was like, why the F is Almac smiling? Negative stuff. North actually took down the posts, disabled comments, all that stuff. So if the photo is not there, it's a different photo. Comments disabled, which is really sad. Like,
Look, I
come
think, and we've been backing up Almac for a bit last few weeks, but you can't be smiling.
Yeah.
Because this is, as fans, like we go through such high, like so many ups and downs, and a lot of downs, mainly downs. Like, just come
It
on,
was
man.
bad.
Read the room.
it was bad.
Read the room.
So North socials have fumbled big time there.
Well, we've both talked about how the social media, they don't read the room like Matza says. Now, Carlton does it all the time. And in that instance, the only thing they can do is like a full-time or FT, and Carlton did the full-time. But yeah, I think players just got to understand, when you lose that bad, you have to look like you're at a funeral. Like that's just part of the rule book. Otherwise, you're just going to infuriate the fans more.
100%.
Yep.
We've got to do the typical shout-outs for Hawthorn. Gunston with 7. Bro, how old is this dude?
Brought him in on draft. I said in the chat, the easiest money. And that's everyone's bigging up Toby Pink and all that, which I agree has been good. But like, if the Hawks were ever going to be on, this was the dude that was going to kill us, because his IQ is combine the whole North defense's IQ and times it by 2. Times it by 2, that's Jack Gunston's IQ.
This isn't just footy IQ. This is regular IQ.
Bro, there was a goal he got early, and I think it happened twice by then. The ball goes in to a contest. Every single North player, in fact, Will Dawson, one of our young defenders, who you'll cut him some slack here, he pushes off Gunston. You're like, mad, good boy. He goes up to spoil the ball. Gunston's the only player that's just waited at the back of the pack. He's like, I'm going to let 10 guys jump, and I'm just going to stand here, and I know I'm going to get it. And of course, he kicked the goal, which is a typical North thing to do. Everyone rise at the ball and no one actually impact the contest. But anyway.
So him 7. Chol with that amazing chase down tackle and the finish to boot.
Well, what does Chol need? And again, sorry to just cut you off with expanding these stories, but like Chol in a confident mode, in a confident team, he's kicking bags. He's always done it. He's a confidence player.
Same with Nick Watson.
Correct.
Who everyone says, but North Melbourne are going to be regretting this one. There's no way he's doing what he's doing at North. There's no way he's running through those packs, not the packs, running through the stoppage, collecting the ball and going on. There's just, first of all, I don't know if we have the coaching, and the setup to actually get him into there. But
with how much of a confidence player Nick Watson is, if North picked him, and this is the thing that's come up in socials as well, is like, we fumbled the Zane Dersma pick. I said this last week. Just relax. Just because Alex Tyree has a good game doesn't mean you botched it by picking Finn Sullivan. So I don't want to hear it. I hope they all do well.
No, 100%. Look,
but Watson, right? If he was in North in this shit team the last 2 years, there's no way we'd be calling him the Wizard right now.
Oh, bro.
I can guarantee it.
Everyone would be upset. Why do we get this, 162 centimeter dude?
He's had bad He's had bad periods with Hawthorn.
Yeah.
being a great team. What do you think he's going to do with North, man?
Yeah, true.
How's he so fast at like 167 or wherever he is?
Yeah, nah.
How's he so
Low
quick?
center of gravity, man.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
true.
How does his
true.
legs move that quick, bro? He's tiny.
Yeah.
No, Isho Speed should race Nick Watson next,
Should.
man. Look, yeah. And I gotta say one thing. Like we were talking about this earlier. Dano, first crack, they're like, oh, they've stuffed up, and they've gone instead of going Nick Watson, they've gone Colby McKercher, who's going to go to Tassie, and Zane Dersma, who's he doesn't love the club and they don't love him. Like, bro, are you kidding me? Do you really look that Colby going to Tassie? First of all, he's I can't really see it happening, to be honest with you. But also, even if he does,
they might not even exist.
they might not exist. Even if he does go, we're going to get heaps back.
Mm.
We're going to get a lot back, right? And when it comes to Dersma, it's like how do you know? How do you? Of Joey Montagna just making stuff up.
Yeah.
That's some Kane Corns ass shit. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
It just annoys me because the North fans buy into it. Like, again, like I said,
Yeah,
Alex Tyree, he's played 2 games.
Yeah.
He had a good game this week. Don't get me wrong. But like, we were just praising Finn O'Sullivan last week for how good he's been, and he got a rising star nom. And then the week after, we get smashed. Tyree plays well. How could we not pick Tyree? It's like, just relax.
Yeah,
We've done pretty well in the draft. I was telling Mats earlier, like O'Reilly Hardman, first round pick, done well. Will Dawson played, developing key this week. You got obviously your High-End boys, your Colbys, your Wardlaw, man. Can we just say on him, this is his 4th concussion in, 2 years? And a lot in the back end of last year and the start of this year. I'm starting to worry that his career might just be taken from him, to be honest with you. It's actually quite sad. I hope he's okay.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah.
That would be robbing, obviously, North fans like him, but the whole AFL world loves the kid, man.
I know.
So
you could just his aggression and the way there's not many players like that, and the way he can evade, tackles, and he'll be tackled, and he'll manage to just wiggle his way out and get a ball out.
I hope he's okay, man. But
yeah,
anyway,
100%. Anyway, look, we'll move on to a game which I didn't expect much from, first versus 18th, but I loved what I was seeing from West Coast, man. Like, I think there's certain things, like, first of all, Tom McCarthy. That dude's averaged like 600 meters gained in his first 2 games and averaged probably 30 disposals or whatever it is.
So good to see the mid-season draft give a few players like that.
I know, man. It's given a couple gifts, man. Like, Tom McCarthy, Liddy, both, they've done really well. And Tom McCarthy in particular, he's 187 centimeters, so he's not a small guy. And he's just, it's just ready-made, drive, meters gained type player. And it's fed into the way that they've started playing, and they're doing all right with the ball movement, getting goals from halfback. Him, Baker, those 2 dudes, Duggan even is getting involved in that type of play as well, and it's brought a bit of life to it.
Also, Hoff as well, 27 possessions and a goal.
And
he was a defender. Now he's like playing midfield.
Yeah, well, he was running with Nick Dacos, which is like he wasn't tagging him, but he gave him so he was keeping him accountable. You know what I mean? In saying that, Nick Dacos does Nick Dacos things, scores goals, and, does his job.
I will say the game sort of had the vibe of the North game to me, where like you're expecting Collingwood to just wipe the floor, and it's a bit of second gear behaviour from Collingwood to an extent. But yeah, got to give credit to West Coast for taking it to them as much as they could.
Yeah, especially because it's like at the Docklands, which like West Coast does not play at Marvel, man. So
not even Collingwood plays at Marvel. So.
Yeah, maybe
true,
that's why
true,
they
maybe
both away games. But like if West Coast was putting up a fight at West Coast, it make more sense. This one going over to Melbourne, you think, oh my gosh, this is like bloodbath. But yeah, they kind of held up their end of the bargain, West Coast. So
another dude was Marich as well, playing a bit higher up on the field now, bit of the wing. He's still, because he's another dude who can push the ball forward and kick the ball. It's just, again, buys into that movement of the footy. And Clay Hall managed to get the rising star this week, and he looked. That was probably his best game. He looked pretty, he looked like a proper footballer. You know what I mean? Looked like his AFL level. This week at least.
Job Shanahan as well, actually.
Yeah,
the key forward that slipped. So Richmond took Jonty Fall over him. And Sims, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think both over Shanahan. And everyone's like, I remember, watching the draft, like, when's Shanahan going to go? Can North trade up to get Shanahan?
We were definitely more into Shanahan than we were Fall. There was a bit of a surprise that they took Fall so early, if I recall. Yeah. So, no, he looks good. The thing that impresses me the most, it's kind of like when Jacob Van Rooyen sort of came on the scene in that second year, and he just looked physically like, there's no way this kid's 2 years in the system. Shanahan kind of looked like that to me, but in his first year, like really physically ready. So he should play every game now to the end of the year. if his body can handle it. So that's an exciting one. Because Oscar Allen's like leaving, so this is the guy. Now.
Yeah, there we go, passing of the torch, and then they'll get pick, 1 or 2 compensation for Oscar Allen you'd expect. But then in saying that, I guess whoever's giving him that huge contract, buyer beware, injury problems,
I think if it's Brisbane, a team like that would just somehow, like with the Joe Danaher thing, just somehow heal him.
Yeah.
And he'll be a great player. So.
Yeah, true. Next game, Richmond. Is it Richmond Adelaide?
It is, yeah.
Richmond Adelaide. What's this stat, man?
What's that?
Tomlich first half. I saw this on Footy Online.
Yeah.
0 disposals, 5 free kicks against, negative 15 AFL fantasy points, 1 incident on report. That's the best first half of all time.
That's it. Yeah, look. Thug move, man.
Yeah.
Just big thug move. And was you telling me, Dano, earlier that he went for one earlier? He went for a swing.
It was your dad that said
it was my dad. There you go. It was my dad saying that, he went for a swing earlier and he missed. Just thank God he can't lay a punch, bro. Because if he did, bro, he would be out for, not just the 4+ that they're expecting. If he'd connected and concussed butts, right? He's out for, I think that it'd almost be like a lifetime ban at this point, the way the AFL's going about it.
Just retire.
Just retire, bro. Just finish.
It's going to be a super interesting amount of weeks that they give him, because you look at the Paul Curtis tackle and a few other genuine footy players that have just been unfortunately concussing someone literally in the most accidental way possible.
Yeah.
Getting 3 consistently. And then you've got this, which is a genuine strike that, yes, didn't fully connect, but surely it's just the action that you're judging here.
Intent was there.
Surely.
To hurt. Come on, man.
For me, what would you give, just off the top of your head, where you're looking at it tomorrow morning or tomorrow night, whenever they say it? What's the weeks you're thinking?
Look, here's the thing. Barry Hall got 8 for Staker. Nowadays, that's probably a year.
Life in prison.
Let's just say it's a year. However long it is, they'll give you 15 weeks. Whatever it is. This has to be... Look, I feel like it should be a 6, 7, 8, in my opinion. Because the intent to hurt, and the fact that he even admitted fault when he said, I was really frustrated. Bro, you literally just told us that you're upset, so you punched him. That's literally what you told me.
Man's won too many flags. He doesn't care anymore, bro.
Yeah, no, he's going out swinging.
I would say, personally, I'm expecting 6.
6 sounds about right.
I'm expecting 6.
Especially because there wasn't a concussion. If there was a concussion, maybe you make it 10.
If he only gets 4...
No, imagine they only ban him for night games. And him and Volto just at home, snuggling on the couch.
Just, twiddling the thumbs. Playing some Mario Kart.
That's cool.
Look, onto the Adelaide end of the spectrum.
Look, man,
Dan Curtin, bro.
Yeah, what a player.
Another one North passed on.
Look, this one, who was in that draft?
That was the Watson draft.
That was the Watson draft,
so we picked, Colby and
Curtin would be nice, man. I'm not gonna lie, bro. The fact that he's that height and he moves that well, takes marks, takes intercepts, I like him.
I'm not saying, by the way, just on the whole, he would be nice. Of course, he would be nice. If we had him instead of Dersma right now, that seems okay.
Yeah.
But also, don't give up on the Durs, is all I'm saying.
No. Look, I'm keen. Look, I was saying earlier, I reckon Durs, man, if his shoulder is, ready to go, the way that dude flies in, there's no reason he can't do what Curtin's doing. I could imagine him in that wing role, maybe even a half-back role, doing something similar.
It'll be fun,
but the fact that he has the forward nous means, you want him closer to the forward line. That type of prodigious talent throughout all of the youth footy generally translates to senior footy as well.
Yeah.
Great game. Again, Dan Curtin, the man, Phil Thorpe with 5, Josh Worrell's my boy, shout out to my mid-year Supercoach draft waiver wire pickup, man. Stunner.
I think everyone looks good against Richmond at the moment. It's towards the end of the season now. The boys have had I think Richmond's had quite a good season considering where they're at, and they've exceeded expectations, and they're pretty competitive most games. But now I think it's just, it's just a slog.
Max McElhenney play forward? Because he had 3 goals.
Yeah, I don't know where he played.
I'm checking the heat map.
Mate, how many key forwards they want to run with, bro? The thing, look, I got to say, now that I think about it, shout out to Tom Lynch, because usually we don't have anything to talk about for Richmond games.
True.
So you've given us a topic of conversation. So you know what, man? You're not a thug. You're a nice guy.
He did play forward, by the way.
Yeah.
McElhenney. That's crazy. 3 goals.
Yeah. No, look, I guess you might as well try it. If you're going to try things, do it against Richmond, man. Into the last game. I'm so disappointed St Kilda didn't win. Honestly, bro. I was just the way they played in the third and the energy that they brought. some of the young guys like Hugo Garcia comes in and he's running with energy. And again, another guy I picked up in draft. I was loving watching him go about it.
Well, they had a really impressive win against Freo at the start of the season where they made Freo look absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
So it looked like, oh man, they must match up well against Freo for some reason.
It's odd that that's the case, man.
Yeah.
But look, they smashed them in the clearances.
Yeah, big time.
All of a sudden, I was thinking at one point in that game, I'm like, are we underrating Rowan Marshall, or is like the whole ruck situation with Fremantle that bad? Is the dual ruck thing that bad? I just think Rowan Marshall just deserves some flowers, man. I think he's a great footballer, man. Max Hall, that's another. I think he was a mid-season draft pick last year, if I'm not mistaken. Bro, that dude, smart, gritty. Just that dude, yeah, that's the type of guy who just he brings the team up, similar to a Liddy, in this year's mid-season draft. That dude can play, man. I really like Max Hall. Those are the type of guys that you want, all day in the mid-season draft. They didn't tag anyone this game either, which I thought was really interesting. They went against the the Windhager pinching nipples, type behavior. They just they went man for man, and they actually did well.
See, I just assumed that they did because Sarong only had 18 touches. So in my head, I wasn't watching the game live. I thought, no, he must be doing a job on him.
No, look, they were just going one-on-one. Look, there was a bit of it wasn't like a man-to-man tag. There might have been a little bit of body work and this and that.
Still
Hugo
work,
Garcia running with him a little bit, maybe. But no, they tried their hardest.
The battle I liked the most was kind of the Jordan Clark versus Naz on opposing halfback flanks, because they both had a lot of ball, they both kicked the goal, and they're both kind of setting up a lot of plays that really, really good players. I think Naz is now Saints' best player. I think.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
He's really, really special. But Jordan Clark, I think, can go a little bit unnoticed at times because he's at Freo. So I don't know if he gets the attention. Yeah. I hope he gets the All-Australian spot this year.
Yeah. Look, I think now that Freo are, entrenched into the top 8, I think it'd kind of be hard to go against him. Like the guys who would go ahead of him generally, like, Zorko, he hasn't been that good.
No.
Not as consistent. Other than that,
I think Bailey Dale's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, Sinclair is always up there in that into that chatter. Look, Jordan, they're actually very similar players where they're both quick, they both kick it well, they both deceptively they can intercept. You know what I mean? They have the willingness to jump and fly and get into a spoil, and you don't expect it from a halfback flanker. But that I think adds more to the game and adds more to the defensive integrity of the team.
Yeah.
How'd you like that one? Defensive integrity.
Well, the thing is that they both can kind of press up into the midfield as well, and Naz has been doing that a bit more than Jordan Clark recently. But I thought that was quite good. And then you mentioned Tyroo. I think he had the most spoils of a Saints player ever.
And you know what? Yeah, I think it was 14 spoils, so the most ever in his second game. And also he did something that is almost impossible to do. He made Ross Lyon smile. So, he goes in for a tackle right after he kneed Josh Tracy in the ribs. Like after he flew back with the flight and kneed him in the ribs. Afterwards, he didn't care that, Tracy, could have died in that situation. He tackled him and dumped him on the ground, not in the AFL, scary dumping, but, he tackled him, over the line for a throw in. Just the aggression, man. If he gets any sort of polish, Tyroo, they got a really good one here, because he's not polished yet. It's
even if he's just a defensive menace and unpolished, it's still a fun player.
Yeah, true.
Very effective.
It was fun to watch.
Very effective,
Yeah. But they got one there.
I think the last thing I say about this game is it was obvious that the Saints just didn't have a forward target. And when you go and juxtapose that to Freo, they've got just a big man, Tracy, that's just marking everything. And you kick it into the Saints forward line, and it's just like, is Mason Wood going to mark it? He's going to go at the back to Higgins.
Where's Max King?
Where's Max King?
Yeah.
So I felt like that tall presence of a key was missing. Like Cooper Sharman, good guy. Cooper Sharman.
Yeah, he's a good guy. You love his effort.
He has some games where he's like the best player in the competition, but they're only once or twice per year. So they were missing a tall presence, I felt.
Look, good that you mentioned Josh Tracy. That his energy as well, not just the tall presence, but the fact that he does the rundown tackle that he did on Naz was unbelievable. It was from he got shepherded off, off from tackling him, but he still just kept going at it, and eventually when Naz slowed down, he got him down. So it was amazing. we'll jump into the tips, I reckon, for next week.
Yep.
Unless you guys have anything else to add.
Buys are done.
Yeah, North versus Bulldogs, and there's no way you can tip North in this game. And if you do and you get it right, good for you. But it's just they do not deserve a tip.
Yep. Can't get ugly, I think.
Yeah. Carlton versus Collingwood, another team.
Equally ugly, man.
Equally. That's
We're going to have a bad start to the weekend, boys.
I know, legit.
Might have to do this pod out of order next week.
Yeah. But look, the next game you would think would be, a smashing as well. But West Coast showing signs of life. We're still going to go GWS because you can't tip
100%.
Eagles.
Yep.
Essendon versus Gold Coast.
Oh, this is a prelude to the to the preseason the pre-finals
makeup game.
bye.
Yeah. Gold Coast. We can't. This is such a bad round already.
You know
man.
what I will say?
I feel like this is a good one to tip the underdog.
I'm actually tempted to tip Essendon. Not that I really actually believe they'll win, but it is at Marvel. Gold Coast lost to Richmond away. Like there's still that nagging thing of like they can just lay an egg.
No, fair enough.
So I might begrudgingly tip Essendon with no confidence
Yeah,
because
I
I need
don't
to
mind
chase
that
them. I
either.
need to chase some tips.
Okay, fair enough. Look, are you going to tip them as well? So
I think we'll go Essendon.
Oh wow, this is insane. This is unprecedented.
It's not a confident tip. It's
No.
I need to chase tips.
Bro, we're like 20 tips behind the
Yeah.
leader.
All right.
You know what's funny? The next game, Geelong Cats Richmond. Richmond is $12.50 to win that game. I mean, Carlton is $4.60 against the Pies. You guys are $6.40 against Bulldogs. Does $12.50 not seem a bit excessive?
Nah, look, Richmond are bad and Geelong are...
When do you see $12 though?
Bruh, nah. It's not, the world in which they win would be just... That's like a parallel universe.
Putting a fiver on.
GMHBA, you know what, man? Remember that time they beat them by like 200 points or whatever it was?
I think it was against Melbourne.
This
I
is
remember
a
against
Bailey,
Melbourne,
Bailey
Geelong.
Smith captain.
No, they
this
also
one.
beat, I think in that same year, didn't they do almost the same thing to Richmond? It wasn't as bad. but
Probably, man. I
Yeah.
can't remember. There was a time where Geelong were just touching
hopefully
up
not
everyone.
for the Tigers.
Anyway, Brizzy versus Port at the Gabba. We've got to go
Brizzy.
Brizzy.
St Kilda Hawthorn
This one's kind of fun.
at Marvel.
I mean, fun as in like probably not fun, but
Gotta go Hawks for sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. With what they just did to us. Yeah.
Some very one-sided games this week. to be
I know,
fair.
it sucks already, man.
Sydney Freo is a good one.
Sydney Fair is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go Dockers, man. Look, to be honest, I'm gonna go whoever's tipped less. I'm gonna go with them. But I feel like the Dockers, they didn't do that well, did they?
I think the
They've
assumption
won 6
is
in a row.
I'm saying against the Saints, they haven't done that well.
No, but that must be a bogey team.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the assumption from a lot of people will be like Sydney looks like they're back.
Yeah.
They should win, but I don't know. Freya's a good team.
Yeah, no, I might go for it, to be honest with you.
I'm going to go Sydney.
Yeah, fair. That's all right. I might go for it. I'll go for it.
Adelaide versus Melbourne. We're going to go Adelaide, and that concludes.
That's
Does anyone have the footy tips up
Yeah,
for
I've got it up. Hang on.
Yeah, because I'm curious to see, because I know actually, I think I got it up as well.
Mate, Lana's just holding forward at the top there, Skivo.
She's insane.
What's your-
102,
Wow.
right? Then in second, we've got Bockhall, Eugene H on 101.
Yeah.
And then tied for third on 100, we have two people, Kiara Tinney and Fish and Crips.
Shout out Kiara, man. Shout out Kiara. So this is someone who doesn't watch any football.
She could win, man.
She could, and she was telling me, like, first of all, but when the competition started, she said she really wanted a t-shirt, right? And then also she told me that she does 20 minutes. She spends 20 minutes on her tips. The fact, like,
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't even spend like maybe 2 minutes.
I just did mine now as we went, and I'm not looking at it
Yeah,
again.
there you go. See, so I appreciate the effort, for the t-shirt and and the support. So shout out to her for that one. But yeah, I think
Nice.
we started the pod late, so we're not going to do any enjoyers law to finish off because we've got some editing to do and some sleep to do. So thank you guys. See you on the next one.
Cheers.
Pray for us.